Shut up and sit down.
Welcome to round 8 of the ChampCar iRacing series for 2022, and in the spirit of keeping things fresh, it's one of our new cars for this season, the Ford Mustang FR500S. V8 up front, live axle in the rear, hopefully a bit of talent in the driver's seat, and we find our way to Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal. Some interesting racing has happened here in the past, both Formula One Grand Prix and bit of NASCAR action, but today it's time for the ChampCar iRacing series. And for today's coverage, I'm David Haynes. I'm joined by Devin Peters. We've got Michael Derby on the production. Devin, you've got to be, pinching yourself. Another race this season in your home turf.
You wouldn't believe that there's race car tracks up here, but once in a while we put together a good one.
Now, that being said, Montreal is a little away from you, but it's a little away from me as well. It's such an interesting track, honestly, for these cars. There's some pretty tall curbs around. It's a street circuit in slightly inverted commas, but from the scuffs on the Armco and the concrete around during qualifying so far, I think it's all the challenge of a street circuit, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. They put it out on this little island in the middle of the river, but it's a street circuit in its heart, and it really shows from the way the drivers have to push around here. And a car like this is perfect for it. Terrible on the brakes, great on the accelerator, and always trying to put itself sideways on the way out of the corners, on the way into the corners. I'm looking forward to some really good action and some really sad accidents in the race today.
Okay, there's your predictions. Well, let's have a look then at the schedule for this year. As we said, round 8 right now, and we're in the Ford Mustang FR500S. It is a rotating calendar of cars, hoping to touch on some of the key styles of car that you might come across in the ChampCar Endurance series. So we started off with the Ford Mustang at Road Atlanta, and then we went to VIR, Summit Point, Daytona, Lime Rock, Sonoma, Watkins Glen last time out in the Mazda Miata NC, and now Montreal in the Ford Mustang. Still got a little bit of everything else to close out the championship. In fact, next round we're in the Volkswagen Jetta diesel front-wheel drive, and it'll be interesting. And Devin, there is a little bit on the line here in this iRacing series.
Oh, just a little bit, just about 1,500 champ bucks going to the winner there, eh? Sorry, I'll revert back to my international dialect. But yeah, $1,500 on the line for the winner of the series, and another $1,500 on the line for one lucky driver who shows up to at least 50% of the laps in 12 of the races. And we've got more than a few people that are still in the running for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. There's been a real cast of common names across all of the races so far this season, and indeed going back into the past as well. But like you said, $1,500 of ChampCar credit is going to our season champion. I'm looking at the points right now with 7 completed. Mark McCormick with 3 wins leads the way. He's got 150 points. Alex Albert's got 142, and Zihao Lu, who won the opening round of the championship, has 138 points. So still pretty close up there, and then pretty close all the way through the rest of the top 10, even if some of those are drifting away a little bit from championship contending positions. There's still a lot of drivers there. John Wilding, John Hurley, Justin Hall, Ian Giebler, Tim Wire, Jordan Butler, Shane Cameron, drivers we've seen very consistently finishing this season, and that gets them close to that drawn out of the hat lucky prize.
Oh, absolutely, and to be honest, we're still early days in the season. There's been what can I say? The top 3 in the points have wins so far, but any one of those guys in the top 10 could propel themselves into contention with a strong performance here or anywhere else this season. So making sure that you got wins and that you got good finishes behind them is really the key in a championship where we drop 4 weeks of points.
Let's narrow down our focus then a little bit on this round and on this race. It's qualifying underway right now with 6 minutes left, as you can see. And then we get into the race. Back to the regular 1 hour races, but there is still going to be 1 or 2 more 2-hour races later on in the season's schedule. It's our typical 60-minute 1 pit stop affair here. Qualifying at the moment has Zihao Lu, only driver to have managed a lap in the 149s, currently sitting best placed from Mark McCormick, from Justin Hall and John Hurley, looking like what would be our first 2 rows of the grid if it finished now. But it's not finished yet, and conditions are still getting more favorable as we go along.
Yeah, we are seeing track temperatures, air temperatures dropping ever so slightly as we get a little bit later into the day in the simulator here. And that's showing up on the timesheets. Zihao Lu looked absolutely unbeatable at the midpoint in this qualifying session with a 150.176 until Mark McCormick came and ran the 150.177. I think that lit a little bit of a fire underneath Zihao as he returned to the track and put in some serious laps, and now we've seen him crack the 149s, which is a seriously impressive mark out here today.
And then what about this car, the Ford Mustang FR 500S? It's that 4.6 litre Ford V8 up front. It's not ridiculously quick, but it is pretty challenging to drive, all things considered. You see them getting it sideways very commonly off some of these corners.
Yeah, it's a really lively car, and I love it for that. Honestly, it's one of my favorite cars on the service, and if folks have iRacing and haven't given it a try, go out and make a point of trying it out. But that 5-speed gearbox, that live rear axle trying to get from behind you in the braking zone to in front of you every time you lock something up. It's really one of those cars that shows the quality of the driver.
Just watching at the minute, Justin Hall is on a flying lap. Again, currently 3rd in the qualifying. He's got a bit of clean track in front of him, but again, street circuit. There's 25 or so drivers out there. You have been seeing pictures, drivers struggling to find clean space out on track to try to put in a competitive time. Looks like Hall is still pushing relatively hard as he goes through one of numerous chicanes here. You come underneath the bridge, braking in the shadows, to the next chicane where the top of the curb's very tall and it is a wall right on the exit. So you've got a bit of runoff if you go straight on at the first apex, but then putting the power down on the second, you've got to walk it all the way out across the curb and to the barrier. Hairpin at the very end of the bottom end of the circuit here.
Yeah, the famous épingle hairpin, or hairpin, as we call it up here. But this is a car that really suits Justin Hall. I got to think. I remember back when he used to race the street stock in this
civilized
series.
as he is.
Exactly. Yeah. But no, when we used to race the street stock in this series, he performed really well in that car, and he's one of those drivers who always seems to be a little bit ahead of where the car is. He's always kind of controlling it into the slides and being really purposeful about how he's moving it around. So it's no surprise to me that he seems to do really well in this, and that he's showing out so well in qualifying.
He might be setting up for another lap here because his best is a 50.6. That was a 50.45, so it is an improvement, but he still sits in 3rd. He shaved just a 10th or so off what he was previously capable of, and I think he's still wound up going at this lap of, again, I say 25 drivers. It looks like about 15 to 18 of them are out on circuit at the moment. You've got a couple drivers parked. That lap's not going to be an improvement for Justin Hall as he scrapes the wall like that. But you still got Zihao Lu and Mark McCormick out there. Hall's obviously not given up, and
and Mark McCormick takes it 2 wheels up in the air, and you can really see these things must remind you a bit of the supercars with the way they jump the curbs around here.
This especially that final chicane. That's where drivers have been talking about, the aggressiveness of the curbs, that wall of champions, and also the policing of cutting the chicane, taking the shortcut. There's no advantage to be gained from doing it.
Yeah, and this is one of those tracks that's gotten the treatment from iRacing with the updated track limits and the more detailed track maps. So we can tell you that off tracks are happening when all four wheels go off the edge of the track over that white line, except in a couple places, turn 8 and 9 and turn 13, that final chicane, where just putting all four tires over the edge of the red and white curving is going to be enough to get you an off track. Now, we don't do off track penalties in the ChampCar iRacing series, but it will invalidate a qualifying lap, and so these guys need to keep it clean through there. I'm seeing on screen now that we're following Alex Albert, one of our championship contenders, currently second in the points, having a bit of an off week so far. He hasn't really seemed to be able to find his rhythm here around the circuit. Got to get him north of the border to do some test laps up here, I got to think.
Now, he went a bit wide at that hairpin, didn't he? But he was personal best to sectors 1 and 2, so I think he could still salvage this. It is going to be his final lap of the session across that second curb very aggressively, and he's going to go straight to the finish line and look to improve on a 51.4. I don't think that lap counts.
Yeah, it wasn't quite what he needed out of that one. Mark McCormick hits the pit lane, signaling the end of his qualifying. Zihao Lu's already in there too. So it looks like the checkered flag has fallen and things are settling.
Yeah, still got Justin Hall out there, potentially with a slightly damaged car. Still got Andrew Kosick, Sean Saputra, and Shane Cameron.
John Wilding just put in an improvement, getting himself up into 5th place in that particularly sacrilegious Volt-colored Ford Mustang.
What's wrong with it?
The Volt. It's not a Camaro.
Oh, they ran that livery on like everything, didn't they? They had it on a McLaren GT4. They had it on a Camaro GT4. I'm pretty sure it might have raced on a Ford.
You might have me on that one. So as qualifying shakes down, we're going to put.
What about that pit entry, Devin?
Well, that pit entry is a place where you can make a bunch of time, and also a place where you can get yourself in a bunch of trouble. You really want to be aggressive. Obviously you don't want to give up anything on the way in, but it's a street circuit, so it's of course going to have that really tight wall on the left and on the right side from the way in.
We're almost at an end to qualifying. Charles Kowalczyk still out on track, though you saw why this lap's not going to be an improvement for him. No grip down in second gear, probably coming out of the hairpin. Yeah, but these have got a 6-speed. These have got a 6-speed gearbox. You just never use 6th.
Yeah, you're right about that. I was also going to say you'll notice how long the pit lane is here today. I think that will be a factor when we get down to the fuel stops for sure.
But it has been made Grand Prix speed, so the pit lane speed limit now 50 miles an hour through there compared to whatever it was previously, maybe something close to 35 or so. Let's look at the grid for what is going to be a rolling start. So the front row, it's going to be Zihao Lu and Mark McCormick. Both have taken wins already this season. Justin Hall and John Hurley on row 2 have yet to do so, but they are two drivers, I think, as you've said, pretty well adapted to these slightly more lively, slightly higher horsepower, longer braking distance, higher tyre wear cars. John Wilding, great late improvement in the session there for 5th, ahead of Ian Giebler, who has been a consistent name all of the rounds so far this year. Jordan Butler and Alex Albert for 7th and 8th, and the top 10 rounded out by Orlando Harrell and Sean Saputra Someone squeaked their way into the top 10 there late on because it bumped Andrew Kosick down to 11th. And he shares that 6th row with Joshua Lucas, Tim Wyer and Charles Kowalczyk, then Patrick Pursley, Shane Cameron, Mark Kruger, Brandon Marshall, Jared Cubitt, Greg Vandervert, Scott Grinnell, and David Palermo, 4 Club New Yorkers in a row. And then, unfortunately, Devon, it's 3 Club Canada drivers at the bottom 3 with Jerry Barvanek, Ryan Gerstner, and Michael Thorne. Though you can forgive Michael Thorne because I think he's struggling with some internet issues tonight, and I don't think he got a lap.
Yeah, it has seemed like he's been struggling with that, and looks like the Red Beaver Racing guys are starting to get themselves together and get organized to get on the simulator. So I think as they continue to get some more seat time in the virtual world, we'll see those Canadian names creeping up the standings.
Fantastic. Plenty to see around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal. You've got the big geodesic dome, you've got the casino, you've got the rowing basin. We get some freight trains across some of the bridges here, but the racing's what we're here for. They're all lined up on the dummy grid on the back straight. Pace car shortly to lead them along. Short formation lap. Pace car away now. Jihalu is going to have to think carefully about how he approaches this race start.
I'm curious to see how they end up going through the chicane. So far, it looks like Mark rather is going to give him some space, but single file through there could be dangerous.
60 minutes on the clock. Compulsory pit stop for fuel. Will they take tyres, though, is also a big question we're going to have to think about. Through the chicane, almost single file. See how Lou holds them so they can form up formation. Will he wait for the green flag? McCormick riding the brakes just to try to be able to carry some momentum when they go, which is now down towards turn number 1, then the hairpin at turn number 2. See how Lou leads. His pole position doing well for him, but it's cold tyres for everyone. This is a tough car across curves and on cold tyres. Top 5 all clean so far. Top 10 all clean so far. Alex Albert, big moves early.
Yeah, a hell of a start from him. Comes up from 8th place and does a little bit of that now illegal overlap in F1. It's still legal here, and he uses that to perfection as he jumped the start and stole 3 places on the way to the first turn.
A lot of body angle already. Lou leads them down into braking zone here. Oh, the tail gets so slidey on in there. That's going to compromise him through the next bit. McCormick's right with him. Justin Hall still right with him there. Then John Hurley, Alex Albert. John Wilding going along with the top group. Then there's a little bit of air to the rest of the field that Ian Giebler leads. Not a car length in it for the lead, though.
Yeah, things are going to be tight and tough here until we see those times get up to 10. And guys are certainly doing enough sliding that it shouldn't take much more than a lap or 2.
Big braking zone here at the hairpin. No changes up front.
Sean Spucher, another big winner on the opening lap, made up 3 spots already, up into 10th place from 13th. And things are stacking up a little bit in the back of the pack. Seeing 2 wide, Shane Cameron battling with Ian Giebler after a bit of a tough start for Giebler. Down 8 spots.
Yeah, I think a couple of guys got through there.
Yeah, it looked to me like Giebler took a slowdown penalty in turn 9, and on the way down the short chute was giving it back, and giving up positions.
Okay, so Lou still leads. Mark McCormick right behind him. Bit of battling going on behind between Hall and Hurley. I think Hall got a little ambitious and lit up the rears somewhat. Wilding went up into 5th and Alex Albert back into 6th.
Yeah, and Alex Albert's going to have to find some pace to be able to hold on to that position, those positions he gained.
Yes, well said. See how Lou up front in all black. Mark McCormick in his traditional Whammo livery. Through the shade and the trees, they all go.
He and Mark are showing off some of that pace. Justin Hall's doing his best with the draft to try and keep up, but so far hasn't seemed to be able to find whatever it is they've been holding in reserve to or to get as far ahead as they have been. Only about a second back so far there, so all hope's not completely lost.
First and second might have outbraked themselves a little bit a couple corners ago. Again, it's a heavy car too, isn't it? So that's long braking distances, and be a bit careful how you open up your right foot exiting the corners as well. But the braking distances is what's going to start getting more and more difficult the longer we go into this race. Tyres ought to be pretty good right now, but they will wear with that much weight on them.
Mm-hmm. Well, and this, Alex Albert just got the last chicane all wrong, and I think is their first driver to fall victim to the wall of champions. That was a hard hit. And on the front right corner too, I got to think that he's going to be steering a little bit funny as he goes down into turn one.
Well, it's certainly a wall of champions then, isn't it?
Yeah, he's living up to it. John Wilding also very slow after, I believe, having to shortcut. No, maybe just giving back some time. He shortcut the final chicane as well. But yeah, had to give up a lot of time in the first sector and cost him 4 positions. Consistency is going to be king around here over a race distance. Alex Albert's still struggling. Just watching him fall back and hit the wall. Some more.
It looked like into right-handers the car is not stable and it wants to get away, so there's not just steering out of alignment, but I think
some rear toe
damage.
Yeah, something going on there. Meanwhile, up at the front, things are starting to open up a little bit. It looks like Zihao has now managed to open up a bit of a gap onto Mark McCormick, who is still just far enough ahead of Justin Hall that he's given him a sniff of the draft down the big casino straight here.
The action zone definitely seems like it's that final chicane, though. So easy to get wrong. Our top 3 get through there A-OK.
Well, and give you some inside perspective. This car's hood being as high up as it is, wow, Zihao Wu puts in a 49.7 last time by it. That's flying. But the hood being as big as it is on this car, it means that it can be really hard to actually spot the apexes of these chicanes. Common struggle for folks in these things. Looking at our top 5, I'm seeing Jordan Butler and Sean Splucher having a bit of a battle. Splucher, of course, managed to make up 4 positions over the opening lap, but starting to drop back a little bit as he lets Butler by there.
Yeah, Butler passing into the top 5. Splucher coming back at him, and for all we've said about the gearbox, some drivers negotiate a little better than others. You might see someone be good through the corners, but then losing out on every shift down the straights.
And this is a car with a bit of a funny power band, so there's definitely something to gain by figuring out which RPM is the right RPM to shift at, which can be part of the secret to getting this thing working. Where I was going earlier with the hood before I lost my train of thought was that one of the secrets in the sim can actually be changing your camera position a little bit so that you can see all the way over top of it. Might feel a little unnatural if you're a 5'8" guy to drive like a 6'3" guy, but I can tell you that I can see a whole lot more with my head scraping the roof in this car than I can with it in a more natural seating position.
I think a key place for the action right now is 7th and 8th, and Orlando Harrell kept it off the wall but didn't get a huge amount of speed through the final chicane, and John Wilding manages to go back into 7th. There's more drivers here in this group too. Kovalchuk and Alex Albert still with that damage, but I think sort of getting acquainted to it, he might get around and back into 9th. So plenty to happen here. And then there's another big group behind them there of Giebler, Wire, Josh Lucas, Brandon Marshall, etc. There's not many people having a lonely day yet.
Yeah, the leaders have kind of sprinted away and left a few crumbs in their wake, and then there's just big groups of guys, and that kind of follows with what we were seeing in qualifying. You know, a few guys able to crack down into those really elite 50s and 40 times, but for the most part, folks were running around a 151 or maybe a low 152 without having to do anything too heroic over the curves out here. That's suboptimal. Okay, folks, so we're just getting word from our producer that the computer streaming the broadcast has just crashed, but we'll keep things going here because our audio computer is different. So we'll give you the live audio coverage of the ChampCar iRacing series. Dang northern infrastructure, I gotta tell you, one of the worst parts about living up here.
Do we just have to pretend to be John Hindhoff and Johnny Palmer now?
Yeah, there you go.
All right. I can't do either of their accents, but it is closing up a little for the lead. 50 minutes still to go in this one. Devin, I noticed that there was some different ways to slice the apple on the pit stop strategy for this race. So a long but relatively quick pit lane. This is a car that refuels pretty quickly compared to some others. We saw quite long fueling times for the NC Miata at Watkins Glen 2 weeks ago, for example. So it seemed like you could take your fuel in 15 seconds, but 4 tires took a little bit longer, but there was plenty of performance gain to be had from new tires. So I'm very interested to see, based on where the track position is, what the gaps are like, how risky people go, because the safe option probably is to take tires.
Yeah, you got to think so, especially with the amount of stress we're putting on them, with the amount of slow corners, big braking zones that we got around here. I almost wonder if we're going to see a few guys go with a 2-tire only, or, I struggle to imagine a 2-stopper working, but it'll certainly be interesting to see when people decide they want to try the undercut. Still seeing some battling back here, actually, in that sort of 6th, 7th, 8th room. I think I just saw, that was Sean Saputra and John Wilding making contact on their way into the hairpin, as the two of them were going back and forth. And it looks like we've managed to get the moose off the power lines. Is that right?
Something like that appears to be. So Saputra and Wilding are going to get through in towards turn 1 here. Again, different lines.
Alex Albert tried to make his way through as well, and he got hooked up on that looked like Jerry Bavanick's front bumper. It's tough when guys trying to let you by. Oh, and things are still pretty tough around here. Bavnick's still getting out of the way. He's letting people by. It looks like Albert's around now, facing the right way, passing them this time. Yeah, lap traffic kind of being a factor here early on, and I'm expecting we'll see more of that.
So a rundown then of the top 10. See how Lude leads, 1.4 seconds from Mark McCormick. 2 or so seconds then to Justin Hall, John Hurley. Bit of a gap to Jordan Butler, who's starting to get clear of the pack over 5th place, because he has about 3 seconds to the next battle there with Wilding and Saputra, Orlando Herrell. Just behind them, Charles Kovalchuk and Shane Cameron, the last cars in the top 10. 11th place. Immediately behind them is that damaged car of Alex Albert. He might be looking to, when the pit window opens, to be one of the earliest stoppers.
Yeah, I got to think that's top of mind for him. If you're driving around a car that's bent here, you can get away with it for a while, but you really start to pay for it because you can't take any chances over the curbs, and that's really where all the lap time is at a circuit like this. Alex Albert showing very little fear, though, as he goes 2 wheels in the air over the final chicane there. Just love the racing around this place. So many guys just pushing it to the limits on every corner.
I think Tim Wire against Ian Giebler might be one of the next places to watch. Wire was in the honeybee kind of livery there. Just got the car links back off of Giebler.
Yeah, and interestingly enough, Wire, wasn't showing the same kind of pace that Giebler was in qualifying. But once you get them all on the line and you get everyone kind of drafting, you start to see that maybe a little bit of that was good luck in the qualifying session. Just managing to string it all together or not. Average lap pace is looking pretty different than what we saw in that qualifying grid for sure.
And this is where the action is on track through the hairpin. You've got sort of 6th through to 12th here, a group of 7 cars, all immediately behind Wilding. He's got a little damage to his nose. Sean Saputra looks to be pretty tidy. Front right for Orlando Herald. A tiny bit of damage on it. Is that the flag of the Dominican Republic? Might be, might
Herald?
not be.
Yeah, I'll take a look for that one.
Some braver than others again across the very tall curbs. You might get a scout badge for summiting those.
Yeah, I think you called it in one. That's the Dominican Republic. Well, actually, I don't know. Those two.
Well, Shane Cameron and Kowalczyk, not so worried about that. Shane Cameron has got himself through up into 9th, I think, at the expense of Kowalczyk here. Kowalczyk right up underneath him, didn't spot his braking zones quite as he would have liked, ran a little deep. Albert right behind him. Cameron scraped the wall on the exit. Now Albert is going to look to spring out from turn 5 and get down the inside of turn 6.
Oh, and Kowalczyk almost didn't make it, but he got enough of that curb on the outside and kind of gave a counter punch to Alex Albert, pushed him wide. And now, who's that in the mirror? Oh yeah, Ian Giebler. He's still part of this battle too.
Albert trying to have another look, and there's nothing quite going on there. They both run a little deep. Kowalczyk, I don't think, got the exit how he would have liked. Giebler again going to barrel down on the both of them here. It's a big braking zone to one of the slowest, probably the slowest corner on the circuit.
Oh, absolutely, and it's one of those ones where it's so easy to lose lap time by pushing it too hard. You really need to make sure that you're hitting that second apex on the way out.
Oh, problem with the shift there for Kowalczyk, just stalling out a little bit. Albert goes past, Giebler goes past as well.
Mm-hmm. And you can see the difference in guys that know their way around that gearbox versus the guys that are struggling with it. When Albert goes real big, locks him up as he lands, manages to keep it off the wall of champions. If you miss that first apex curve, the second one is going to be a doozy.
He'll just hold on, but he's sliding it around through the opening sector here again. Giebler and Kowalczyk right in behind him. Tim Wire dropped off on the previous lap, caught up a little bit then on this lap. So ebbs and flows as the tyre wears and as the sun gets lower. That's Shane Cameron in the fence.
Yeah, and that's a real bummer for Shane. He was up a few positions already this race, moving from, it looks like 16th in qualifying to as high as 9th. But after that hard hit in the wall, you got to think that he's going to be paying for it through the rest of this race, or at least until he can get it to a pit stop.
Could be pretty soon. Another lap around and there'll be sort of 40 minutes to go in this race.
I actually just caught another one there. Justin Hall on the way out of the hairpin there. He got onto the throttle on the exit and just lit him up and tapped the outside wall pretty solidly. I don't think it was on the wheel. I think it was on the bumper, and I think he's going to get away with it. But you can tell that these guys are really running those rears to the ragged edge.
Yeah, too much pedal and wheel at the same time. It bent the rear wing a little bit. Not that that does a whole lot for these cars.
There's technically downforce on them.
The best kind of downforce.
Hear, hear. What that does mean, though, is that the 2-second gap that Justin Hall had back to John Hurley is now closer to a 1-second gap, and he'll be feeling that pressure pretty soon if John Hurley can make any sort of move on him on the ground's lap time. Speaking of the pits, I think I've just heard the pit lane alarm go off.
Yeah, for Shane Cameron and Andrew Cosick. Shane Cameron, not a surprise. What's Minty Cosick up to?
So far...
I'm looking at the rear of the car. Could be for similar reasons.
Yeah, so far it looks like right sides for Shane Cameron. Not seeing the left side of the car go up. Oh, there it is. And it does look like both of them... actually, no. Cosick's only going to take right sides, and meanwhile Cameron took all 4.
So the time difference then, 17 seconds for Andrew Cosick, 25 for Shane Cameron. That's the difference. Is all 4 new tyres going to be 8 seconds quicker for Shane Cameron to the end of this race? It's possible, you know. Very early on, we're already seeing guys skating around, burning off their rear tyres. So,
on the flip side, despite everyone skating around, Zihao Liu somehow still seems to be able to run the thing as fast as he did in qualifying, nearly. Last time by was a 50.5, but the time before that was a 50.2.
We'll see. He's just stretching out a tiny bit of lead to Mark McCormick. It stands at 2.6 seconds now, and it's another lap where Liu just improves it by, 0.2.
Mm-hmm. And same goes a little further down. Looks like Justin Hall saw John Hurley creeping up in his mirror and decided to go for it a little bit. He gains 0.2 on Hurley this time by. Really loving that paint job on the Dangers Out car there.
Justin's got more damage on the front right now, though. Looking pretty pristine for your favourite, John Hurley.
Yeah, hardly living up to the Dangers Out name.
There they are. There's no danger. Danger's out this season.
I see. Well, we'll see if he can keep it straight. Still a long race ahead.
Well, he's in danger of challenging for a podium here. The first time the ChampCar iRacing Series has visited Montreal.
Well, the two of them would love to beat each other because, as it stands, John Hurley 5th in the points, Justin Hall 6th in the points, and they're separated by 1. So they will be really hoping to get the upper hand on their rivals today.
I'm watching the speed difference right to the end of the straight underneath the bridge. I'd call that about 2 miles an hour for Hurley. So the damage not really hurting Hall, but there is a slipstream at that kind of distance and at those kind of speeds.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm watching Zihao Liu as he clears some lap traffic up the front of the field. He's going by Greg Van Hood again. Or actually, sorry, for the first time here. Or at least he's hoping to. We'll see if Van Vert gives him some room. Zihao Makes a authoritative move. Oh, and gets a little bit wide.
It's close. It was a little close, wasn't it? A shallow entry meant wide exit.
Yeah, it absolutely delivered. Don't think he could have gotten much wider than that without touching that white line and paying the price. But Mark McCormick will have to deal with the same obstacle too as he comes up on Van Wert. This is about as far ahead as I think I've ever seen someone get on pure pace versus Mark McCormick, though. Neither of them has had any real dramas, but Zihao Lu is just kind of driving away right now. Mark really seems to suffer into the hair.
Not even 25 minutes in, and you're going to try that? Okay.
I mean, okay. I don't want to have a boring finish to the race, you know.
They'll find you at the bottom of this rowing lake if something does happen. How deep even is it? I don't think it's actually that deep.
Yeah, it's really not. You could probably stand in it.
Okay. I've been to where they had the Olympic rowing for the 1956 Melbourne Olympics. That's not that exciting, but there you go.
Fun facts with David Haynes. Mark McCormick catches Van Wert easily on the straight and manages to get by cleanly. He did not gain anything on Zihao Lu that time, but he certainly didn't lose anything by going by Greg. That was just more Zihao driving away. Notably, though, the two of them both ran 51s the last time by, so that's a pretty significant drop-off. I don't know if that's the tires going off a cliff or if that's just a little bit of lap traffic.
Probably just the traffic at this point, though that was very sideways for the leader. That was not the best practice application of the throttle.
Mm-hmm. Things are getting tight in third and fourth place as well, as we see Zihao Lu drifting it again. Yeah.
Yeah, Hall still holding on to that third. More damage on the front right, as we sort of picked up before. The car, it's not built like a tank, but it's certainly, performance-wise, you get away with that damage a lot more easily than you would, say, you know, on a GT3 or a single-seater or anything like that.
I was just noticing that, you know, you think about these races and sometimes a guy will end up on an island and, you know, kind of have to race for himself for a while. Well, Jordan Butler's doing that right now. And last time by, out of 9, he got that corner about as wrong as you can get it without driving straight on into the wall. That was spicy for him, but it's tough to keep your focus around a place like this. Long straightaways interrupted by very, very precise corners.
Nothing in it back in third. There was good braking into turns sort of 1 and 2 there for Hurley. And probably if you're going to get past, you just need to be close at the hairpin and get a good run off the hairpin.
Well, the two of them are both catching up to Greg Van Wert, so he could become a factor if they're particularly close when it comes time to lap him. I have noticed that the first half, turns 1 and 2, John Hurley really seems to have the advantage, but Justin Hall seems to be able to drive it away a little bit through 3, 4, and 5.
You're a hairpin guy or a chicane guy?
I think I'd have to say I'm more of a hairpin guy.
Fair enough.
I'd definitely throw myself into the wall. Eagle-eyed viewers might have noticed that John Wilding, who had a really strong qualifying performance up in 5th place, has suddenly dropped out. Sounds like a power outage in his area has caused that car to grind to a halt and has promoted a few people. So now John Hurley and Jordan Butler are going to be... Sorry, Jordan Butler is now going to be in 5th place rather than 6th like he was before.
No dramas as yet for our third and fourth. Hurley gets as close as he's ever been and then rolls out of it just before the braking zone. So he's still stalking out his prey a little bit.
John Hurley knows how to run a fuel race. Let that be known. He's definitely a guy who's gotten it right more often than I've seen him get it wrong. You really see him roll in so much more speed through turn one than Justin Hall seems to be able to. And I don't know if that's down to the bent fender on Justin Hall's right front or what. And I've heard the pit alarm go off again. You seeing this?
Yeah, absolutely. Alex Albert, who we thought might have pitted a little earlier than he has, is in. Josh Lucas is in. So I'm curious again. What's the lay of the land on the strategy? Alex Albert's going to find his pit crew in his pit box. And left sides first. I think if we see left sides first, it's only left sides. If they're going all four, we see the right-hand side first.
I do believe that to be the case. And interestingly as well, I'm noticing that our leaders, even one lap clear of the traffic, they're still lapping in the 51s. So those tires might have officially given up the ghost, and they might be paying for their choice to stay out at this point. We'll see who picks up on that. Oh, and somehow, have we missed John Hurley getting by Justin Hall? We have.
Yes, because we've missed Greg Vandervert outbraking himself and taking out Justin Hall.
Yeah, that was pretty unfortunate incident there. It looks like Justin Hall thought he was clear on the straightaway, heading down towards turn 8 and 9. And as he moved back over to take the racing line, Greg Vandervert was still there, and the two of them tangled. Luckily, it only cost a quarter panel, I think, for Justin Hall. Greg Vandervert may have flat spotted some tires as well. But either way, that means that now John Hurley has the upper hand in their battle. And Justin Hall has decided to take to the pits, see if he can make up some of that ground with a good little undercut.
He talked about the length of the pit lane here, but you get to skip the final chicane. You get to skip the first chicane. They've increased the speed limit. It's, as a delta, probably less than some other circuits.
Yeah, I was expecting they'd run them at the 35 or the 45 kph limit that we see sometimes around here, but with the Mustangs, I guess they got enough horsepower that they let them go to full 55.
Everyone's on the Grand Prix speed limit. So I missed it. What tires did Hall take?
It looked to me like he took the left sides only. Which would reflect what we're seeing on the stopwatch as well. Yeah. I was getting kind of engaged with some of the battles out on track there. I think I was seeing Josh Lucas and Shane Cameron just glued together through the first turn. Got Mark Kruger in the pits as well, pitting from what looked to be a top 10 position, dropping back to 16th now. And he'll be coming out right in the middle of a battle between Jerry Babnick and Jerry Cubitt. Babnick, though, still 2 laps down after some incidents earlier in the race.
Shane Cameron almost wrote that car off a little earlier. And he almost did it again. He's pushing maybe a little hard here, trying to get around Joshua Lucas. Hurley, Butler pit from 3rd and 4th.
I was going to say that pit lane alarm is going off nonstop at this point. So Hurley and Butler. Hurley clearly responding to his competitor, and noticing it looks like him going for just left sides as well. Does seem to be the popular move. Jordan Butler, on the other hand, he's going for rights and lefts.
See how that works out, but in the 5th place he was running, Butler did have quite a bit of time over 6th on back.
Yeah, he managed to get himself out of that battle earlier on in the race and pull away a bit. A significant factor as well could be this pit lane exit. It is very easy if you're not paying attention to pull yourself over that inside line. And as we rejoin that third place battle, the significant gap that John Hurley had opened up after Justin Hall's mistake has been significantly eroded. It's a good thing he got out when he did, because Justin Hall made up a lot of ground with that one lap of fresh tires. Doesn't hurt to have a fresh car either.
No, still waiting on then pit stops from our top two of Zihao Liu and Mark McCormick. Ian Giebler, Sean Zaputro, Charles Kowalczyk also high on the timing column at the moment, yet to stop. And then the only other drivers yet to stop, Brandon Marshall, Jared Cubitt and Scott Grinnell.
Do have to wonder if the two of them are playing a bit of a fuel game with each other at this point. Maybe that explains some of the drop-off in pace that we've seen. Zihao Liu just reacting to what Mark McCormick's doing behind kind of thing. Ooh, as we see one going spinning around there. That was the 25 of Scott Grinnell that managed to get it all wrong. Showing off the powerful enough motors in these Ford Mustangs, and one tire on the grass and a rear axle just comes right around.
That'll do it.
And Hurley and Hall are right back together as well. 6th and 7th on track, but this is for the podium. And this section has been better for Justin Hall. Does take a lot of curb on the inside.
Yeah, and very, very close to the wall on the exit. Almost looking around the outside of 5.
Oh, and he jabbed up the inside there. He wanted to, but he held back. That was fun stuff.
Another one of these chicanes where it looks like it's a little stronger for Justin Hall.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd have to say that Justin Hall does seem to be a chicane guy.
Put that on our questionnaire for next season.
Here.
Top 2 are in.
Yeah.
We're only separated by about 3 or 4 seconds before this. I see left sides for McCormick. I see nothing for Zihao Liu. Is that going to be a critical difference here? Stops now up to 15 seconds. Almost done. Away goes Liu. Away goes McCormick. Even with those tires, a second faster as well.
This could be a pretty pivotal moment. I gotta say, Mark McCormick does have a little bit more experience than Zihao does with this car, having done a couple more seasons of this series than Zihao has.
So the gap about 1.6 seconds up front. And for the remaining 24 minutes, about 13 laps, McCormick could have a bit of an advantage.
It'll be interesting to see. Another factor will be the fact that those tires got a chance to cool off, and that does make a big difference in these cars. But you got to think that coming down to the end of this, Zihao's going to be paying the price, right?
Well, he gets past David Palermo.
Hurley and Hall are side by side right now, going down the one of the back straights here. Looked like Hurley, as Hall shoves it up the inside, well executed pass there, and Hurley really didn't have a chance the whole way. Hurley kind of got it wrong going into 6. It looked like following some lap traffic almost off the road before he was able to gather it up. But plenty of traffic ahead of both of these guys, definitely going to be a factor for them. Michael Thorne, speaking of, Michael Thorne just ahead of them, gets the car pointed 90 degrees to the track when he hits the throttle. And Hurley missed a gear coming out of the hairpin.
Well, it's all happening now because it's almost down underneath a second for the lead of the race as well. There is that traffic in front of what's going to be third place. Hall was going to try to get down the inside, but that other driver of Grinnell is going for the pit lane.
Yeah, a little bit tough to make that work. Spucher and Kowalczyk hit the pits, though.
Yeah, which now means Brandon Marshall is the only one out there yet to pit.
And Michael Thorne seems to have the first section figured out. Does it count as a commentator's curse if you call a scheduled pit stop?
For what now?
A scheduled pit stop, because of course he said it, and then Scott Grinnell went and drove straight down the pit lane for you there.
Okay. Half a second for the lead now. McCormick is bearing down on Zihao Lu. Different strategy decision here.
Nearly a second and a half difference on that last lap, on their out laps.
Their pit stalls are past the timing line, so that reflects the difference in the pit stop more than the out lap.
Makes sense. Both of them having to take a little bit of evasive action as they make their way around Patrick Pursley here.
Of course, as first and second on the grid, they've got the pit stalls all the way towards the exit as well. McCormick's in the slipstream, less than a car length, looks to the inside. I thought that was going to be mind games as much as anything else, because at this point, single file, they've struggled enough with the curbs in that chicane.
Zihao absolutely nailed the chicane that time, though. He was perfectly positioned. I'd say that McCormick was like half car length off. Zihao carried a ton of speed that time. Whew. And the little puff of smoke as Zihao's front tires picked up and then tapped back down again on the exit. That was pretty neat. This is just a pleasure watching these two battle. Zihao holding up to some pressure. Both of them starting to clock up the incidents. Now Zihao is up to 24 X's and Mark McCormick a solid 11, but a lot of those 11 have come in the last few laps as he's been chasing down Zihao.
Now, probably the biggest difference would be the traction zones after right-hand corners. So you turn 2 and your hairpin here.
You'd think so, but Zihao seems to be managing this second apex in particular of most of these chicanes a lot better. Oh, but he did pay for the price there. Just lit up those rears.
I don't know. I feel pretty justified in my opinion after seeing that.
It did seem to ring pretty true. Interesting that Zihao's deciding to defend the inside here. I don't know. I feel like I would want the outside line going into the Wall of Champions here.
That's his specialty, Air Zihao over the second apex curb, but it's not quite such a drastic difference as it was last time around. And instead of out to half a second, it's just 3 tenths, 2.5 tenths down towards turns 1 and 2.
Yeah. Meanwhile, looking down the order, it looks like Justin Hall's managed to make a pretty sizable gap to Hurley after some of those earlier issues that we saw him having. He got stuck behind some lap traffic as well, so Hall's now managed to drive about 1.5 seconds between himself and Hurley.
Just a car length again here. 10 laps to go.
Long laps around here, it's relatively limited chances. Also noticing some battling between Jordan Butler. Jordan Butler and Orlando Harrell down in 8th, 9th, 10th place there. Those two were side by side going through the final chicane last time by. Harrell had to take some invasive action after Butler really threw it up the inside.
After pretty clean run through the first stint, there is a bit of damage on Butler's car now.
Better get our eyes back to the lead, though, because McCormick, once again, has the run on Zihow coming out of that final corner.
Well, out of the hairpin, yeah. So it's 3-4 more kilometers an hour for McCormick, but you typically do want to be very close all the way up alongside to try to pass into that chicane at the end of the lap. Maybe he'll have to surprise and try to outbrake on the way into the hairpin or at one of these chicanes or at turn 1.
Yeah, knowing Mark, he's sizing him up and judging when he's going to have to use that Whammo bumper sticker. Really close, coming out at 2 that time.
Both of them lively on the exit of every corner, every which way at the moment.
Oh no, and we looked away from Jordan Butler and Orlando there, and the two of them tangled going into the hairpin. Orlando got tagged and then got shoved off into the grass, and then his spin ended up putting Butler facing the wrong way. Split up that battle for 8th and 9th. Keeping our eyes on the leaders, though, here, as those two are nearly just nose to tail at this point.
Puffs of smoke and laying down the black marks everywhere. Lou got a little deep into the first apex, clobbered plenty of the apex of the second.
Yeah, he's saying, move over, Tony. But the way his right foot's working right now.
A little tidier off the hairpin, but still McCormick very close. They got to look forward at the traffic, which is Mark Kruger. I think they both ought to get around quite easily here.
Yeah, Kruger does seem to be doing the right thing and kind of giving him a wide berth.
Yeah, no dramas there. Lou takes his best line through the final apex then as well. 15 minutes to go, and I think the tyre difference probably starts to equalize a little bit here. Surely the first 3 or 4 laps after the pit stop is McCormick's best time, best advantage.
Yeah, McCormick's going to have to find something here because I think you're right. The tires are going to be pretty similar over the next few laps. Oh boy, watching John Hurley and Justin Hall. Hurley's gotten back by Justin Hall. Don't know how that's happened. I'll have to go back and check the replays, but oh yeah, it looks like Justin Hall got the final chicane wrong and had to give up some time. And then in the middle of all that, the two of them are trying to lap some lap traffic. David Palermo's in the middle of them right now, so it's really chaotic for those two. Hall now down to 4th place, having to go around the outside, find his way back to Hurley's bumper. Hurley on the lap fresher tires. So the back half of the podium will be busy as well.
Yeah, well, looks like they've gotten through there in 3rd and 4th. 1st and 2nd has still got to get past Scott Grinnell.
And you love to run into guys on the front half of the track. Generally a little bit easier to get by them on this side.
Final chicane again, plenty of airtime for your leaders.
Actually looked like McCormick might have gotten through there almost as well as Zihow that time. I don't know if that means he's learning or if that means just that Zihow had a particularly bad line this time. You can really tell that this is kind of a point and squirt car, though. You know, they just lock it down in the corners and then get it going the right way on the exit.
Yeah, only try doing one thing at once. So the advice, Scott Grinnell stays to the extreme left-hand side of the circuit, and I think that was very, very fair, still very close between the leaders.
Yeah, props to him. Noticing that we've lost Alex Albert here off the back of the grid. He was running in 22nd place, I think had another issue, and that's our 2nd place points championship contender dropping out of this race, taking a drop week. Which will surely promote Zihao Liu into second. And we'll have to see.
Stop!
Wow.
I mean, I believe, right? I just wouldn't say it like that.
I'm not a luck man. We'll see if I live to regret that.
Okay. I feel like, again, as close as they've been off the hairpin this time.
Yeah, you gotta, it's as close as they've been, but it also hasn't been close enough for Mark McCormick to really make a move. Did I jinx it yet? Nope.
It's that bridge gantry thing just before the braking zone where you've kind of got to be alongside, have some overlap for that point, because very quickly after that you start braking.
Absolutely.
Well, it's close. It's tense. It's some entertaining viewing up front. Oh, super slide and lock up from McCormick, and he's going to lose a chunk.
Ooh. Yeah, he finally got a little wrong. Just one half of that outside tire into the grass, and props to him for saving that. I mean, there's a lot of guys that would have tried to catch that, tried to drive through it, and McCormick kind of realized it was gone and just locked it down, saved the car, got it pointed the right way. We'll see if those left side tires still have anything left in them, if he can get back to the bumper of Zihao, but that's going to be a lot of work. Really shows how tough these cars are to drive. Meanwhile, third and fourth place is still plenty hot. Justin Hall's gotten back up to the bumper after making that mistake in the final chicane. He'll be looking for his opportunity.
Yeah, half a second quicker for Hall last lap. So he's right there.
Very different approaches.
Deeper for the later apex.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, another problem with the shift for John Hurley.
Ah, that gearbox can be such a bugger.
It's got to be third to fourth there, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think so. Who knows though? Maybe Hurley decided he wanted to be in the advantageous, drafting position. Who knows?
My clock says 5 laps to go.
They're getting real close through 2. Lots of laps raced between these guys. I wouldn't be surprised if someone decided to, give a friendly tap in a nice low-speed corner. Just a few battles kind of hotting up here in the last few laps of the race. I'm looking at 7th and 8th right now between Charles Kowalczyk and Tim Wire. Those two are really starting to suck up to each other. Wire in particular has been right behind Kowalczyk. Hasn't quite found the right spot over the last 5 or so laps, but the two of them have been very close together. And then I'm also noticing that Shane Cameron, our village idiot, he's racing pretty hard with Josh Lucas, which is a fellow Carolina driver, Carolina club. And Cameron, what does Cameron race in real life? Ought to be familiar.
Under chicken.
Yeah, he raced that Thunder Chicken, so you got to think that the Mustang would be pretty familiar territory for him. Ooh.
It should be his kind of car, based on that. Throwing it around a little.
That was some of that transitional braking. Wakes you up. Really clean from the two of them through there. Not taking any risks.
How's he going to get past then?
Well, I don't know. We'll have to see. I'm checking back in on third and fourth, though. Justin Hall and John Hurley are dealing with 100 cars in traffic. I gotta think, oh my gosh, as Hurley just about
Justin got rear-ended.
Yeah, just about rear-ended Justin, because Justin was taking some evasive action from Ryan Gersmer there. And now Gersmer is letting Kruger by as well, it looks like, on different laps. Oh, and then another car wrecks ahead of them. That's Jared Cubitt, who's just put it into the wall. We'll see if he can find a way to get that safely turned around. That's a blind corner. That's going to be tough for him. And just get it the right way. And it doesn't look like it's going to impact any of our other battles on track. Justin did get the better of that, though. Looks like he's managed to more or less hold on to his lead. And Kowalczyk and Tim are still going too, man. It's busy. It's busy out there right now.
We don't want to talk about 15th, 16th, 17th, do we?
I mean, I was just going to say, we don't usually get to talk about cars that are a lap down. The 15th, 16th, and 17th is very entertaining right now, too. This is Patrick Pursley, Greg Van Vert, and David Palermo with Ian Giebler just trying to get through. He's in 5th place, and he's like, lappers, get out of the way.
Ian Giebler should be able to be a bit patient. 5 minutes to go in this race, and he's got a bit of time advantage to Sean Saputra, but would like to get through Palermo, and he just decided, no, that's not for me. He's watching Palermo and Van der Vert go side by side. Van der Vert's got the inside. Palermo breaks deeper. Van der Vert comes back, but then puts the stoppers on it.
On Cubitt and Pursley, I mean, it's all kicking off. Fans are getting a show if you're on the front grandstand right now. Ooh, and Giebler makes that spicy move up the inside.
Giebler's perspective is probably the most anxious of all of these, because he's staring down another good, solid result. 5th place.
John Hurley just gave a little tap to Justin Hall. Going through 5. And Hurley's lining him up. Not able to knock him down, though. Out front, things have stayed more or less the same. It looks like Zihao has managed, once he broke that draft, he's managed to just continue to grow the gap. A few tenths, a half second here. And in the meantime, Hurley and Hall. Hall has just managed to light up the rear tires, and Hurley's going to be alongside on the good side down the back straightaway. Can't look away for 1 second. No missed shifts for Hurley, but he is taking the longer line around the outside. Hall benefiting a bit from the side draft as Hurley slams the door.
There's the chop. There's the chop.
Decided he wanted the inside for the first chicane.
If Justin Hall's clever here, he could come back.
Not a clever man, that Justin Hall.
Judge not, lest ye be judged, Devon.
Speaking of people that aren't very clever, we got the village idiot here, Joshua Lucas and Shane Cameron racing with each other as well, getting very close for 10th and 11th. Looks to me like Shane might have a bit of a run.
Cameron's right there in the slipstream, approaching just a bit of traffic. That would be Jerry Barvanek, but it's nose in front, braking a little earlier for Cameron. They're going to go side by side through the final chicane, and predictably, it's not going to end well. Cameron bounces off the tyres, though, and I think he might be able to carry on, but he's not able to pass.
That's a real bummer, and folks wondering.
That car's not going straight. It's crabbing just an itty bit.
Yeah, folks wondering why those two cars had their headlights out while the rest of the cars had their headlights on. Well, it's because the two of them have been beating and banging enough to break those headlights. Um, Back for third place, though, John Hurley going defensive into the hairpin this time, meaning Justin Hall ought to have a bit of a run on the way out, but Hall lights him up again, doesn't get the power down quite as well. It looks like to me that they'll be coming to the white flag this time.
No. It should be one more because Lou's crossed the line with minute 55 or so on, so it should be white flag next time. Run through the final chicane for John Hurley. Checks up in front of Hall. They're going to be side by side on the pit straight. I think I prefer where Justin Hall is. He's got a tiny bit more speed, and he'll be able to take away the line here, but he's cautious on the brakes. Hurley runs it around the outside. Is there an over-under? Is there a crossover possible? Potentially could be then. Off that hairpin, looking at the next chicane. Not close enough, not far enough up for Hall, but he'll keep the pressure on for the rest of the lap. Looking for another over-under. Did he shortcut the track there? They're going to be side by side through turn 5.
That looked like some go-kart stuff. He had it all twisted up there. Leaned on the back right tire. That was awesome. And Hurley manages to hold off that one, but I gotta imagine we got a few more in us before the end. Oh! Hall gives him a punt.
Well, there'll be a slowdown for Hurley as he cuts the chicane. Justin follows likewise, though. I reckon Hurley came across onto the line a little bit there, though.
Yeah, it's a little bit tough. It was close racing, but I think Hall and Hurley have a lot of respect for each other, and Hall decided he was at fault. He was not going to gain an advantage that way. Zihao crosses the line this time for the white flag.
Yep. Ever since the little mistake from McCormick, bit of a slide, might have toasted his tyres a little bit. See how he's been able to continuously extend this gap. Now out to 5.7, the most he's enjoyed all race. It was a real push after those pit stops from McCormick that he just managed to hold off for long enough.
Yeah, really impressive from Zihao managing to hold the pace the way he did and force McCormick, the chasing car, to make a mistake just trying to keep up. As we watch this battle between Justin Hall, we'll see if there's any more opportunities for him. Right now, a couple cars length further apart than they were last time by. Some of the boldness might be gone out of Justin Hall, though. It feels bad to make contact that way. Ooh.
I wouldn't say so. I wouldn't say so.
That was real close that time.
Could run off a 4, be able to keep it flat through 5 to then straighten up for the braking zone at the very next chicane. It's right-hander, long right-hander. The car wants to slide out to the wall on the outside. That's where Hall managed to catch on the other lap, but he's not quite so close this time.
Yeah, I got the first turn a little bit wrong there and had to pay for it on the second one.
Up front, one last corner complex for Zihao Lu to look for a second win.
Hall's got his overlap. Hurley made a mistake in the same place as last time. Hall's got the overlap. He's going to have the outside into the hairpin.
Second win of the season, though, for Zihao Lu. He opened up the account strong, and he managed to bag another win, holding off the pressure from defending champ Mark McCormick. What's happening for third?
Hurley managed to hold the inside. Hall tried to get back in the power, taking the wide line. He was not able to do it, but he's got the draft, heading down the back straight.
So John Hurley's going to look to hold the right-hand side of the track, the inside towards the final chicane. What you don't want to do on the last lap here is get a slow-down penalty. You don't want to cut it. Hall is going to. He outbrakes himself, and I think John Hurley also might have to give up a little bit of time, but he will hold on to that third place. Justin Hall, Giebler negotiated the traffic, and he's got 5th place.
Watching Sean Saputra and Charles Kowalczyk for 6th and 7th now. Saputra's got a little bit of overlap on the outside. Two of them thundering down the casino straight one last time. closer. We'll see if those two can figure their way through that chicane side by side. And they got, oh, who's that? That's Charles Kowalczyk making the move up the inside of Saputra. Oh, and I thought it was Saputra and Kowalczyk that were side by side, but it was actually Palermo, a lapped car that was side by side. And Palermo ends up costing Kowalczyk the spot right at the end. No love lost between those two.
Oh, nice work. Nice.
Yeah, team cars. I think they'll be happy to leave that one.
Yeah, they'll get over that one. So it's just Brandon Marshall, I think, the last car on the lead lap to take the checkered flag, and Greg Van der Vet, Jared Hubert also doing so as the sun sets over the river, over the casino, over the rowing lake.
All of the above.
Yeah, lots of bodies of water around. I'm seeing a lot of smoke in the runoff of turns 1 and 2. Drivers let their hair down a little bit post-race. Let's look then at the finishing order. Sihao Lu, strong pole position, a lot of pressure all through the 1 hour race, but he held on and he grabbed the win from Mark McCormick. John Hurley, Justin Hall, Ian Giebler, the top 5. Kowalczyk and Sean Saputra swapping positions in the final corner on the last lap between the Love Racing teammates, and Orlando Herald, Joshua Lucas, and Brandon Marshall for the top 10.
Ooh, that was exciting stuff. 11th place goes to Shane Cameron, 12th to Andrew Kosick. 13th is the first car off the lead lap. That's Tim Wire. Mark Kruger in 14th, Patrick Pursley in 15th, David Palermo 16th, providing us some last lap drama there. Greg Vanderbilt in 17th, Scott Grinnell in 17th. That's Jared Cubitt in 18th. Sorry, Jared Cubitt in 19th. Ryan Gersmer in 20th. Jerry Bavnik 21st, Jordan Butler 22nd, and I think Alex Albert has completed just enough laps to be considered for the entry prize there. 12 laps down, and a disappointing day for him.
Yeah, Michael Thorne, I see 19 laps completed. The leader did 33, so you would need 17 for half distance. So despite a moose biting through his internet, he'll clear that particular bar. Well, they know where to find us. Are they standing by? I reckon we can go pinch them. What order do you reckon we should do this, Devon?
Oh, you take your pick.
I'm going to give you third place man John Hurley.
John Hurley, holding off Justin Hall, securing third place. How are you feeling?
Woo! That was a workout. That was a workout. We did not make it easy on each other, but great racing.
It looked like you two were pushing each other really hard at the end there. Any love lost between the two of you?
Oh, no, we were having a good time. Fair racer. We had some clean. I mean, as tight as we battled, I think there was just one little bit of contact, and then we finished the rest on the track. So.
Looked like solid racing between the two of you for most of the way. Didn't see. Looked like Justin took the pit stop a lap before you. Was that a bit of a surprise?
Well, he had we kind of got into traffic, and I think he ended up getting the slowdown in the traffic. So actually, him pitting that lap, I thought he was going to. I was debating whether or not to stay out a little bit longer. I was going to take 2 tires. I didn't know if that was going to work, and decided to go ahead and pit right after that. And it probably was for the better because the undercut was pretty strong.
Yeah, it sure seemed to be when the two of you came out nearly side by side. Any other sort of highlights from the race there for you?
Well, Zhao and Mark, they were in another league. They were going pretty quick, and then Justin and I knew from qualifying we were pretty close, so I knew it was just going to be who could make the least amount of mistakes. He actually made more mistakes in the first stint. I started making maybe a few more mistakes in the back stint, and then traffic, as usual, played a little bit of a role. It hurt me, and then hurt him, and then luckily, ultimately, I was able to put on a podium.
Well, props to you for the podium and a promotion to fourth place overall in the points, just edging out Justin Hall after that performance. So getting the better of him in the track and getting the better of him on the point sheet too. Got to feel good.
Yeah, that does feel good, and good to race with everybody again. And had my Dangers Out livery, which is Pinkies and Danger Racing combined, which we'll be doing in CMP in about 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing you out there, and really good stuff. Anyone else you need to shout out today?
Well, yeah, it's going to be a big, huge team, huge ass event at the CMP round. So thank the ChampCar, thank the huge ass, and that's about it.
Thank you, buddy.
He's going to beat Alex Albert again in 2 weeks as well.
That's what I'm hearing.
Move it up the podium then. We love John Hurley, but we'll kick him out and we'll make way for second place. Mark McCormick, still the championship leader, the defending champ, and see how just had 0.5% more for you today.
Yeah, man, he looked pretty flawless from my perspective. On the radio, he says he makes mistakes, but I didn't really see any. Aside from getting in Mark Kruger's way, that was foolish. I made a lot of mistakes. Like, I don't know if you got any of those, but like my in lap, it's like a deer in the headlights, frozen. I couldn't make a decision on what to do, and by the time I decided I wanted to stay on track, I was way past the 3 braking marker. So yeah, I really screwed that one up. So mistakes on the track and mistakes on the strategy, but that was fun anyways. I guess that's what happened when you don't practice.
What about the strategy though? Because it looked like Zihao went for no tires. You took the left sides, and you were certainly your best opportunity seemed like in the 5 laps after that stop.
Yeah, that probably just comes down to the tires. I think I don't think Z took any. So I was looking forward to make a move there, but yeah, it touched the grass a little bit, so it was over then.
A lot of people on the internet tell me to touch some grass, so didn't quite work out for you though.
You could touch my grass. You might spin out though.
Great offer. No, thank you. A little bit of a break before we get to round 9, but that kind of marks the first half of this 16-round championship, first half of the year. How do you rate it? How are you feeling going forward?
Well, I'd be sweating a lot more if Z came to all the races. Hopefully he can make the rest of them, so that would be a little more fun from the championship. And I know Alex is fast when he practices, so there's a lot of good racing that could still be had. Even though I probably have a pretty big lead in the championship. Last year came right down to the wire at the end, so looking forward to the second half here.
Well, exciting. Best of luck.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Devin, you've got to go find our race winner.
Well, I've got our race winner right here, closing out the first half of the season with a W. How's it feel, Zia?
That feels great. It's probably the comeback after I think summit point. Because doing some hard to win this one because due to the accident with MK. But yeah, I managed to hold off Mark and took the victory. Yeah, it feels pretty good.
I'm hearing you talking humble as always, but it looked like you were pretty dominant out there today. Fast lap in qualifying, faster lap in the race, and holding on to the lead for pretty well the whole way.
Yeah, indeed. It's pretty tough for me. It's not my favorite track. It's in Montreal, and yeah, I'm glad to standing on the top of the podium.
Very impressive, though I'm going to have to disagree with you. This is definitely the best track on the schedule. But anyways, we'll continue on. Very impressive stuff there. It looked like you and Mark were going to have a battle there to the end, and then suddenly we lost him. What were your thoughts around there?
Probably I'll try to make the rest of season, but yeah, I try. Yeah, I'm for now I'm not battling for the championship, but yeah, hopefully for the next 8 round, I can have some fun with Mark and the rest of the field. Yeah,
Well, you're only 2 wins behind him right now in the overall points, which is about a 12 points difference. And currently, you're in second place overall with that performance today, taking second place from Alex Aubert, who's been demoted down to third. So uh, it looks to me like you're still in contention if you want to be.
yeah, definitely trying to everybody wants to win. Me too.
Well, thank you very much for coming out today and putting on that clinic. Anyone you need to say thank you to for today's race?
Yeah, still gonna thanks for my in real life ChampCar team, the +1 Racing, and we did a bunch of in real life racing, because yeah, that's the reason I missed the recent races, and thanks for your broadcasting. It's wonderful. Yeah, for the commentators.
Well, it's a pleasure when you put on such a good show for us. Thanks again, man.
Thanks.
And with that, we'll throw it back to you, Haynes.
Yeah, indeed. What a good race for the first time that the ChampCar iRacing series has come to Montreal. It was definitely a challenge. Barriers are close around Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. It does feel like a street circuit when you see a bunch of wounded, beat-up Ford Mustang FR 500S like that. But your podium once again. See how Lou, Mark McCormick, and John Hurley. ChampCar iRacing series takes a little bit of a summer break, and we're back July 13th at Laguna Seca in the Volkswagen Jetta. So free car, free track, and quite a famous track it is as well. We look forward to that. You can still join us if you want to. Find all the information at forum.champcar.org. The iRacing series segments right up the top, very helpfully. You don't have to scroll at all to find it, and the rest of the schedule. That'll be about us, though. So we wish you a good night. I've been David Haynes. It's been Devin Peters with me, Michael Derby, with the cameras and the production behind the scenes, and we'll see you again when we go west at Laguna Seca.